it's got a grocery store, and the courthouse was built in 29. And on cold days like this one, it smells like wood smoke, and the folks are burning cedar and pine. The saloon on the corner is a landmark of the town, and there's lots of old-time pictures over the door of woolly chaperone riders and men in uniform who never returned from the war. Down at the feed store, he's sleeping on the burlap with a copy of Western Horseman on his chest. His clothes are kinda ragged, but you know he don't care. This time of day there's whiskey on his breath.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight. Howdy there, folks. This episode of Burning Daylight is brought to you by Stetson Ranches up in Fromberg, Montana. It's a multi-generational ranch family working on building something to last for many generations to come. They're a diversified working ranch operation, focusing on mostly, they got some other irons in the fire, but mostly quarter horses and beef. And they got a string of brood mares coming from the King Ranch, 4-6s, some of the best horse outfits in the country. And they got a really nice line of brood mares going back to some really old foundation quarter horse bloodlines, Xanthar Bar, Two-Eye Jack, Peppy Sand Badger, Doc Bar, just to name a few. These mares are really big, shapy, heavy bone, athletic, and got a good mind to them, ready to go any direction you want to go. They're breeding them back to some of the best studs in the business, and just really some of the best horse flesh you could hope to see. And also, they got a really, really unique, really cool pasture to plate, direct to consumer beef operation. They're running registered Angus cows, breeding them back to registered Hereford bulls. That's going to give you a F1 Black Baldy cross calf, and it's going to give you a certified prime steak on your plate every single time, delivered to your doorstep on dry ice. $9.95 a pound for an eighth or a quarter of a beef, $6.95 a pound for a full beef. And then they also have a really cool subscription program. It's $125 a month. Going to give you 8 to 11 pounds of beef raised right there on Stetson Ranches. And you're going to get a hamburger, stew meat, a roast, and assorted cuts of steak throughout the year. $125 a month. And killer deal, if you use the promo code MOVEYOURASS, MOVEYERASS, you get 20% off your first month. You can find them over at StetsonBeef.com, StetsonRanches.com for all the horse stuff. And make sure you go follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Stetson Beef. Let them know you heard about it on Burning Daylight. Next up, we got Loma Livestock. Best goddamn sale barn in North America, owned and operated by my good buddy George Raftopoulos. Located right there in Loma, Colorado, 1369 12.5 Road. Got a sale coming to you every Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, going with the feeders, followed by the weigh-ups, depending on what they got for the day. Sometimes they'll do them first. But anyhow, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, that's the start time. Can't make the sale, head over to dvauction.com. Click on the Loma Livestock tab. George is doing a hell of a good job. Got a really top-notch outfit. Trying to make the best possible environment for the buyer and the seller, because that's what a good sale barn does, and they are the best goddamn sale barn in North America. You got any questions or you'd like to consign with them, give them a holler, 970-858-9988, or check them out online, lomalivestock.com. And go follow him on Facebook and Instagram. Next up, we got Ryan Erickson with Oxbar Custom Cowboy Gear. Ryan's been making just cool cowboy shit for about 25 years now. He's out of Stanley, New Mexico, building buckles, bits, spurs, shaps, chinks, pretty much any good cowboy gear you might need. He can make it, and he's going to make it look cool as shit. He's just he's kind of a no nonsense guy, good friend of mine, friend of the show. Appreciate him having him on as a sponsor. Make sure you go check him out on Facebook and Instagram, Oxbar Custom Cowboy Gear. Just search him up, you'll find him. And finally, last but not least, we got Jake Houston Boot Company out of Virginia City, Nevada. Jake is Jake's a craftsman, an artist, and I don't know if he's a scholar, but I'm going to call him a scholar because I think it fits. He's been in the boot making business for about 4 or 5 years, and he learned from some of the best, and it shows. Like he really makes a nice pair of boots. I can't say enough about him. They look cool as hell. Like I said, he's an artist. He's gonna, you just gotta let him go wild when you have him build a pair of boots. You say, hey, this is kind of what I like, and you do the rest. And man, they just turn out great. His customer service is second to none, and just all handmade, custom made, made to measure. He prefer that he measure your foot in person so he can get it right. If not, he's got a kit that he can send you and he show you how to measure your own foot. He's making honest to God best pair of boots I've ever put on my feet. So if you'd like to get a hold of him, you like to see what he's got going on, get measured, all that. Check him out on Instagram at Houston Boot Co. or give him a holler 775-315-3022. Make sure you let him know that you heard about it on Burning Daylight. Anyhow, thanks to all the sponsors, and let's get into the show. All right, folks. Mr. Scott Hall, good buddy of mine, Idaho Buckaroo, back on the show for shit. I don't even know what number this is, but always a fan favorite.
He's the son of the sagebrush. His daddy plowed under with his teams. Ain't it funny how the ambition
it was actually really interesting to get to know some of those guys. Like I say, several of them were the real deal, the ones that I knew anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they still have a lot of the guys. There's been a few of them passed on, you know.
Yeah, but hell, Waddy's still a big part of it, and he was kind of the original guy that, you know, that did it. So but he's still a huge part of it.
Yeah.
No, it was just
Connie Satterthwaite.
Yeah. Well, and my wife's got. I was
going to say she was originally.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I hate this damn delay.
Yeah, just enough lag time. It's about a pain in the ass, isn't it?
I know it. You can usually get into a rhythm with it, but it takes a minute. So, but yeah, I was saying that like my wife's got it'd be like her old 4-H leaders. They've gone. They didn't go this year, of course, because there wasn't anything to go see. But they've been, I think, to pretty well every single one, and it just becomes a thing. It's kind of it really morphed into just this big event. Yeah,
it was a good place to meet up with other buckaroos when I was young, and then I actually got to know some of the better makers out there. That's where I met Carrie Schwartz for the first time. And old Bill Black.
Hell yeah.
And I want to say I even met Jeremiah Watt down there.
Yeah, I just missed him last year. He was doing something at the Folklife Center Museum. He had a little exhibit and demonstration set up, and he was on a cigarette break when we were going through, and we were going to come back by, but we had tickets for another show, so we off to that, and just missed him. But he's one of those ones I want to catch up with before he passes on, and just to say that I've actually talked to the guy, because you see his stuff everywhere. He's got such a distinct style that he is one of those kind of special characters. Like some people might think he's overrated, but when you look at there's no denying when you see a Jeremiah Watt piece, that's his.
Yes, that's something that's always been inspiring for me. He's always had he picks up things from all over the world.
Yeah.
When you look at his work, you're seeing something that has come from a man who's got more depth of knowledge than you can ever imagine. I mean, that man can go on and on about history. And, very few guys have that much depth of knowledge of the traditional vaqueros.
Yeah.
And not just the vaqueros, but silversmithing and repose. I don't know if you know what repose is, but
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
For several years, repose is where you hammer the metal, kind of like when you form dishes and bowls, but you're actually putting a form to it, like an artistic form.
Oh, okay.
And after you form it one direction, then you flip it over and you form it the other direction, and you're basically hammering it into place. So in a way, it's like sculpting.
Okay.
And Jeremiah is a master at it. And there's a few other silversmiths like Dave Alderson. He's a master of repose. You don't see a lot of it in his work, but you'll see a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other guys out there that are phenomenal at repose. But that's who introduced me to it originally was Jeremiah Watt.
Yeah.
And once I seen it, then I thought, man, I'd like to really learn how to do that. And as a matter of fact, I learned to do it at the poultry gathering.
That's crazy.
They had a 4-day class with a guy by the name of Valentin Notkoff that came over from Europe. And he is an absolute master at it. And so, anyway, that poetry gathering's been a really good place to grow and learn.
Yeah, it's
and of course it's always fun to go to those shows,
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's we were just blown away by how cool it was when we went last year. It just I'd always heard about it. I mean, I've been hearing about it since I was a little bitty. and it just is one of those things. Like my dad was big into cowboy poetry growing up. He still is. And so it wasn't cool because, my dad was doing it. And then now that the older I get, the cooler my dad is, he's just, he might be the coolest guy on earth when you just look at him now, because he gives absolutely zero fucks about anything. He's going to do what Wes McKinley wants to do. And that's about it, and you're just like, well, shit, the everything he put up with just with me growing up, but hell, I was one of 8, and then going through trying to be a good guy, good representative of the people when he was in politics, and you're just like, he's earned that. He has earned the right to not give a fuck about anything at this point. He's 76 years old here in a couple weeks, and yeah, he has earned the right to just not give a fuck.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I
anyway,
listened to him talk the one time on one of your podcasts.
Yeah.
And I loved listening to him.
It's funny.
Fantastic guy.
I had so many people tell me after the show, like whether it be like the bar owner there. I guess it's not really a bar. I mean, they have a full bar, but it's specifically for performing. You know, they do plays, they do stand-up comedy, and they do, you know, like karaoke nights and stuff. They have bands there. Like it's a sure enough performing venue, and I really like, you know, shout out to them. They're called the Stage Door there in Elko, and that's if every time we're back in Elko putting on a show, that's where we're going to be. But it was like the lady that owned it, and then like even the people that was on stage with us. There's like your dad had the entire crowd just in the palm of his hand, and there's like, you know, and he didn't really even play guitar with us. He said a few poems and like he introduced us, but he was just kind of there for the ride, you know. He just enjoying. He likes to perform, so he had a big old time. But it's funny when he stood up and grabbed the microphone, just everybody was just like right there in his hand, and it was pretty neat. I had
That's awesome.
Bunch of compliments, or you know,
cool.
a bunch of people commented on that, and yeah, it was pretty neat. And I talked to him here the other day, and he's ready to do it all again. So we got something pretty cool going on there. So we're gonna try to do as many live shows as we can, but especially while he's still around. You know, he's 76, so he don't got a whole lot of time left. So get as many of them in as we can.
It's funny though. That's the kind of stuff that keeps them old guys going.
It really is. He if he don't
keep going, man.
Yep. Yeah, and he's I mean, he's set. He is filing lawsuit after lawsuit and doing all sorts of stuff on this water battle, which you know, it's a lot of people might think that he's just spinning his wheels, or he's just doing it because he likes attention, and they might be a little bit right on that, but it's a very important issue, but it also gives him something to do, and it gives him something that he, you know, he looks forward to every day, just sticking it to those big guys, and you know, it's pretty neat. But now now he's always had the kind of the performing bug, and then we kind of relit that fuse last month, so he's ready to do it all over again. So that's pretty cool.
That whole poetry thing, that's one of the first things I ever did in life. Is I just loved cowboy poetry, and I was in a speech class when I was in high school. I was a freshman, and I was in class with all these seniors, and I've never had this. I didn't feel like the gift of gab.
Yeah.
And so rather than worry about doing the argument, you know, these arguments that they had to go through for their speech competitions, I chose to just do poetry.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I fell in love with it. I just thought that was the neatest thing. And after that, you know, being down there in the Elko area, getting to go over there to poetry gathering was just perfect for me. And
yeah,
I'd sit through hours and hours of that poetry, and I'm just loving it.
Yeah.
And still to this day, actually, that's what drew me and my wife together somewhat, is she was into the poetry. And
hell yeah.
I think it was this time of year last year for Valentine's Day, I sat down and did a couple of poems for her, some pretty long drawn out ones that I had heard some old cowboy poets do.
Well, I would never believe that anything about Scott Hall is long and drawn out. I mean, I refuse to believe that.
Everything I do is fucking elaborate as hell. Huh? I just have to go on and on.
That's why we get along so well, because all my college buddies would tell me to, like, you got to wrap the story up. I said, no, there's an art to the storytelling. You can't just go from point A to point B. You have to tell how you got to point B. And there's a lot of sub points along the way. Right. And sometimes you got to do a little backtracking. It's just like any good trip takes a little bit to get there. And every good story, it takes a little bit to build up the suspense.
That's right.
Yep.
That's damn right. Speaking of which, every good story needs a beer. So I'm going to go get me another.
Hell yeah. I like it. Yeah,
see what I can find in the cupboard here.
Hell yeah, it's Scott's back up in God's country nowadays, so it's a little ways to town for those folks up in the boonies.
Well, I actually am a lot closer. What the hell? My teenage son just moved in with me, and I really hope he didn't steal my beer.
I was gonna say you're gonna all of a sudden realize you're going through a lot more beer than you normally do.
Yeah, if that's the case, he and I are going to have a talk.
Hey, if you're going to drink all my beer, you better leave some money, fucker.
I'm the kind of guy. Oh, shit. Well, whiskey it is.
There we are. That's going to be a good storytelling night for Scott Hall. Might as well. I ran out of.
Here.
I had they opened a distillery over in Fallon here. I don't know how many years ago. Not very long ago. But anyway, I found some of their whiskey in Costco the other day. So I had a bottle of it in my desk here, but apparently it was pretty good because it went quicker than I thought it would, and now I'm out.
Well, I have learned in my old age that if you're going to drink something, you might as well drink something that's good.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, why waste your time? It all gets the job done. It's kind of like roping with a Rieta, you know?
Mm.
You can go out there and rope with some junk rope, but why? It is so much more enjoyable to use a Rieta. Than to, you know.
See, I come from a long line of poverty, so when you get to seeing how much time and effort it takes to make a Rieta, or and then just the sheer cost it is to buy one, I'm just like, whoa. If I buy a Rieta, I'm hanging that fucker on my wall because I'll be too afraid to break the damn thing, you know. And but I need to just break down and buy one. But it's funny is I spent $500 on a pair of boots and I wore them to work the first day just to get them all good and covered in shit. But a Rieta, I don't know. It just there's a hang up there. But I need to actually rope with one.
So, you know, I'm kind of like that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I probably have 7 or 8 silver bits that I like to use.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one of them that was made in America. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think I might have 2 that are possibly made in America.
The other ones are Mexican made.
But who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just Mexican silver, you know? And you would think that a guy who, I've spent a lot of time working on silver.
Yeah.
Way more than I ever should. And I try to make stuff as elaborate as I can possibly make it, you know? But I will not ride the really fancy stuff on a horse.
Yeah.
I just refuse to take a chance on a horse dragging his face across a steel rod or or hooking it on something. I've seen guys ride past other guys in a pen and hook a silver bit on a horse's, saddle or rope or whatever, and bend the hell out of that fancy bit.
Or even just
I just can't bring myself to ride them really, really expensive bits.
Yeah, or even just like reaching back to like nip at a fly or something. They catch it on their cinch ring or something. And they may not bend it or anything, but just gash the hell out of it. And I'd say that's that's kind of, I don't know if that's a typical like cowpuncher deal, but like that's how it was back home. Like you might have a little bit of silver on your bit. You might have like a fancy buckle on your back cinch or something. But for the most part, everything was rough out. It was just heavy made using stuff.
Now on my just regular riding gear, if I could make it for a reasonable price, I ride pretty nice silver.
Yeah.
But as far as the bridle bits go and head stalls and stuff that I know is going to be, there's a possibility of it getting tore up more than just generally speaking. I've kind of avoided riding that really expensive silver.
Yeah.
But as far as Rietas go, I had a Jake Brown Rieta. I shouldn't say have a Jake Brown Rieta, but man, it's a good feeling Rieta. And I've been roping with Rietas for, gosh dang, even though I'm not much of a roper.
Oh, shut your face. Shut your face.
20 years, I guess,
Yeah.
And I had this really fine Rieta. I think it's a little bit smaller than a cigarette. It might be about the size of a cigarette. It's a pretty small Rieta. And a good friend of mine by the name of LaBelle Erickson built that Rieta for me. And I don't know how many calves I doctored with that. And I even went as far as to rope some cows with that little itty bitty sucker and managed not to break it, And shoot, I figured, hell, that Jake Brown it's got to be a 16th of an inch heavier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had traded it from a good friend of mine by the name of, not Tom Hudson, Tom's girlfriend, Aaron Martinez.
Aaron?
I think you know him.
Oh, yeah.
So I got this Rieta from Aaron, and it sat in my horse trailer for a while. And I greased it, trying to make sure that it stayed good and what have you. And one day I decided, I've been roping with this LaBelle Erickson Rieta for quite a while. I think it's time to break out the old Jake Brown, Go big or go home, right? So we're out there doctoring some scoured calves, and me and this young kid he's not much of a roper, but he could get stuff caught,
Yeah.
He rides up and necks this calf, and I thought, well, I'll help him out. This calf maybe weighed 150 pounds. He's just a itty bitty shit.
Yeah.
Right up there and picked up a set of heels and took one dally on my horn, and it felt like it was going to start to run. You know how you do?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be damned if that rope didn't snap.
No shit.
That fucking Jake Brown Rieta, slicker than shit.
Huh.
And I was like, no way. No fucking way. 150-pound calf, and I put one dally on the horn, and it broke. And I've been roping with a smaller Rieta for 2 months,
Shit.
Boy, I'll tell you what. I was flabbergasted. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. This rope looks like it's never had more than maybe 20 head of calves roped with it,
Yeah.
But moral of the story, a guy might want to look a little closer. I think somehow or another that rope got rotted. Because I got to inspecting it, and I think it had, I think there was some rot in the one end.
Oh,
even
shit.
though the color's right on. Something wasn't right with that Rieta, and I'm not kidding you. It is shit. The most expensive Rieta I own. And that one end of it, I think, is rotten.
Oh, that sucks.
Can you believe that?
That sucks. Oh, man. Yeah, that... I've never, like I said, I'm not a Riata man, but I had that same experience with a cotton rope that I bought out of Tips there in Winnemucca. I ordered it from him, and I had him put a rawhide Honda on. Yeah, and I had him put a braided Honda on there, and it's untreated, but I was like, no big deal. I've bought plenty of untreated cottons. I've got my method, and it works pretty good. Little linseed, little beeswax.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing with that one, and
little beeswax.
I've never done the paint method, but I've heard it works pretty good. Yeah, I did linseed and beeswax, and I did it just like I've done. I've had 3 or 4 of them before that, and they always turned out good. I loved them, but I'd always fray them on something. I'd get, like, I got in a bind, had to pull a calf out of the chute because he laid down, wouldn't get up, and and it frayed a strand about halfway down the rope, so it couldn't have done it 2 foot from the Honda, or from the loop. No, it did it 30 foot from the loop, and so it just it wasn't worth much after that. And then it was always something like that. But I bought that one from Tips, and God damn it, I could not like that rope. I tried, and I spent a lot of money on it, so I was gonna get every dollar I could out of it, and oof. The only thing that thing is good for is to put around a big square bale to pull off your flatbed. Just hook it to a post and drive forward. That's the only thing that rope is good for.
Years ago, when I was working for Dan Myers up in Crow Agency, I bought me a Rieta from Dick Grosskopf, which is Scott Gross. Buckaroo businesses. I think everybody's heard of Buckaroo businesses now. Over there to building. I got a Rieta from Scott's dad, old Dick. He was getting them imported from Mexico, and I bought this Rieta. I was branding for a big place that was run by Dan Myers, and Dan, he was a straight up buckaroo. I mean, this guy, everything we did was a horseback, and by damn, you were gonna, everybody rode Bozels, and it was not uncommon to say, hey, let's see if this horse will pack a bridle,
Yeah.
We'd throw bridles, spade bits on shit that we really had no business throwing spade bits on, but we just, he told me, he said, you just go ahead and try it, Why not? What do you got to lose? See if you can make a spade bit horse, And so we were 2-reining shit left and right. And he was the first guy that I worked for that he packed a Rieta. And I shouldn't say he was the first guy that I worked for that packed a Rieta, but he was the first one that I worked with that was like encouraging me to rope with a Rieta,
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that Rieta, and I was roping with it every single branding we'd go to. And it was a damn nice little rope. I could pitch that sucker for, I'll bet you I could throw it 50 feet if I could throw it 10. It would really sail.
Yeah.
And it was deadly accurate. Man, it was a fun rope. And I just kept on roping with it every branding we'd do. And I'll bet you I'd run 1,000 head of calves through that rope. It was a good little Rieta. And I had this little black cow dog. She was a good shit. Handy and workaholic and just a nice dog. And I'd let her sleep in the house at night. And I'd hang this Rieta up probably about as high as the front door, as the top of the front door. So, it was up there a ways.
Yeah.
I had been told by Kurt Waddington years and years ago, he said, he says, always use calf testicles to grease those ropes. He said it's got just the right amount of moisture and just the right amount of fat to treat those rietas. And so that's what I would grease that rieta with day in and day out.
Mm.
Well, that dog, in the night, she jumped up on that dadgum rieta and she got a hold of it about 20 feet from the end. Now, keep in mind, this is a 65-foot rieta.
Oof.
So she cut it off at about 45 feet is where she chewed it in half.
Mm.
And I tried like hell to rope with that rope at 45 feet. And it just made me crazy because I'd reach out there to catch a calf and it would be sailing out of my hand. And the end of the rope would leave my hand and catch the calf.
Oh, shit.
So fucking mad. Oh.
Oh, that's about enough to piss you off, ain't it?
Nothing's worse than necking an animal or throwing that rope clear out there and the end of the rope sails out of your hand, or you got just enough left in your hand that you're still holding the rope and it misses them because you choked it off at the very end. Oh.
Yeah.
But after that, I keep my rietas up out of the way. They are always where no animal can get to them.
Yeah.
Even the Jake Brown sits in a spot where, nothing can get to it.
Yeah.
But, no, I have a Mexican rieta again, and it's, gosh dang, it's got to be a 3/8 or so. Pretty heavy rieta.
Yeah, that's a big sucker.
You talk about a nice rieta to rope with. Yeah, it sails out there a long ways and feels good in your hand. It feels like you're roping with a good heavy poly rope,
Yeah.
But it was a gift from my wife last summer, and I roped with it all summer long, and I've still been roping with it clear into this winter. I don't really like to rope with it in the feed yard, but I have.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. Maybe I should just throw caution to the wind and let it get shitty, but I really don't like to get shit all over them rietas.
I can't imagine how I got so fighting mad the other day. We had to go. Some of our crew must have been fucking off when they were doing sorts down at where all of our dairy cattle get bred. Now there's cattle moving in and out of those pens all the time, but they missed. This was off of one day's sort. They missed like 12 head. And so we all got issued a list and said, go find these heifers. This is where they need to go. And it was one of those deals, typical. This ain't my fucking job. Why am I cleaning up after you? Well, we're on the very last heifer that needed to be found. We got her found. And heading her to the gate right as the feed bunk, I guess the feed truck went by, had a guy in the alley and found her. So she's trying to get back to the feed bunk and not even trying to look at a gate. And I'm on my good mare that the one that if I need to go get something done, anything, whatever it may be, and I don't need to worry about my horse, that's the one I grab. And so this stupid bitch heifer, typical Holstein, headed back to the bunk for about the fourth time. And I like pushing my horse off the fence. So all right, well, she's not going out the gate on her own. So reach out, neck her, and that old mare of mine just hard left. And I was just about to go ahead and and dally hard and step off, but we'd got about a foot of snow couple 3 days before that, and so therefore we had about 18 inches of liquid shit in all those pins. And no, I don't want to end up in that. So I let go of my rope, went and got it gathered up. And by the time we got her drug out of the pen and laid down, this is a brand new poly, like really feels good, you know, like really feels nice. And I just took it back to the barn and laid it down on the wash rack and just hosed the fuck out of it. And I don't know how many asses I chewed that day, but I was hot. And it all started as if they would have just done their job, I wouldn't have had to go find these fucking heifers. And then if my mare would have just done her job and rated a little bit, I could have went to the horn with, you know, just had her right there on my hip and just took her out the gate, you know, using all of her own momentum. Like I had her set up just so she'd bounce off the fence and then head right for the gate. And that's right where I necked her. And then my horse went left. And motherfuckers, all of it. Everybody's a motherfucker right now.
Okay, I got one that's almost as good. Okay, you ready?
All right,
let's hear it. This is a good story. You ready? Okay. Perfect cowboy story. You always know when it starts out, this is no shit.
Yep. That's how you know it's good.
So we're working at the top of the Bighorn Mountains. Me and I think his name was Gabe Holmes. I don't remember. He was a pipsqueak motherfucker. He was one of those kids that just always bugged the shit out of me because he wanted so bad to be a cowboy, but he'd never suck it up and just be a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
He just always, he'd work, but man, this kid would drive me crazy. Just always kind of got to follow the rules. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that.
Yep.
Man, he'd just piss you off, you know, and he had all this book smarts. He'd read these books on cattle management, and he was trying like hell to become a cattle manager, you know. Working for old Jim Scott, there was no way he was ever going to be a manager.
Yeah.
But there was another guy I worked with by the name of Tom Hodson. You probably heard of Tom, probably talked to him. He's a good egg. And Tom, he liked to play.
As any good cowboy does.
Bighorns, there was bears everywhere. And Tom's not fancy, but that son of a gun can get the job done, you know. And we're mounted on these good Scott Ranch horses. So we've been out working some cattle, and we're on the way home, and we see this little black bear running along. And we go after this son of a gun, and we try to get this little fat bear caught, you know. We're just, they run fast. They run much faster than you think they do. About as fast as a baby calf does, you know.
Oh, okay.
Suckers are smoking long, and Gabe, he's left-handed, and he reaches out there and throws a loop at it, misses, and I was the next one in line, and I throw a loop at this bear, and it run through my loop, and Tom, he reaches out and catches it. And it's about 200 yards later, we get this sucker all gathered up and kind of tuckered out. I throw a loop out there and catch a foot, you know, and we kind of stretched him out. You know, he sits down on his ass and he's panting in the hot sun, you know. We're thinking we're pretty badass. We get our ropes back after we turn this bear loose because everybody knows you don't kill them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, we get our ropes back. And it ain't too long after this, there's another one that I see. And I smoke up to this bear thinking, shit, I'm going to catch me a bear today around the neck. And I got this brand new gold poly rope. And this is before they had the lead weighted poly ropes. This one didn't have lead in it.
Oh, okay.
And I had me a brand new Hondu. I think I got it from old Sam Redding. So it was the shit, you know. Well, I smoke up to this bear, and on top of those bighorns, a lot of those draws, they drop off into nothing, you know. They're pretty steep. Some of those ledges will drop off quite a few feet before you hit dirt again.
Yeah.
And this bear, he's heading for this draw. I'm riding a damn fast Scott Ranch roping horse. I mean, he's good looking, fast, team roping style. I mean, fast. So he smokes on that bear, and I dab a loop on him, and I go to the horn just as this just as this bear bails off the ledge.
Oh, fuck.
And as I take my turns, this horse is kind of team roping broke, and he turns left really hard. And that old poly rope just smokes off my horn, just zip, zip, zip. And that bear went running down the draw with my brand new fucking rope and Hondu. I'm not kidding you. I'd had that rope about 2 days. I was so fucking mad. I bailed off that horse, jumped off that great big ledge, and went running down that draw after that fucking bear. He headed for the plum bushes. You know, that country is full of plum bushes. This bear headed into a plum bush thicket to hide. I went running into that fucking plum bush thicket thinking, I'm going to kick some ass and get my rope back. About the time I noticed the daylight was disappearing, I looked around inside this thicket, and I was like, oh, fuck. I'm running after a bear in a plum bush thicket.
That was a nice Honda, goddammit.
Like you just bought it all. I said, well, I guess I better save my own skin and let bygones be bygones. He won that day.
Well, if anybody asks you in public, you just say,
I got that son of a bitch a brand new rope and Honda.
And if anybody asks you in public, well, hell yeah, I brought that rope out. It wasn't worth a shit after all that, but I brought it out.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's funny.
That was a bad day. When you only make $1,000 a month and the rope still costs you $125.
Oh man,
that's painful.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to let. I understand why you went running after it. I understand that completely. Yeah, we were.
The worst of it is.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the worst of it. You know, you think you're a dally man, and you take your dallies on a horse that turns hard like that, and that bear's taking rope out of your hand. I mean, it's got to be 30 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
The horses turn left going 30 miles an hour. That rope's going through your hand about 60 miles an hour, and you're thinking, I can get this fucker dallied. Never thinking twice about, son of a bitch, what if a coil feeds under another coil, and it's just fucking smokes are rolling off your hand.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
you never think twice about it until later. You're like, oh shit, maybe I should have dallied faster.
I roped something the other day, and I had it was pretty goddamn cold, and I had my normal cold weather gear on, so 2 pairs of cotton gloves, and I reached out and necked him, and just kind of let it slide, and but next thing I know, that one of them coils half hitched, and I just barely. Luckily, I had 2 pairs of gloves on because I pinched my glove in that coil, but I got my hand out and got her dallied and stopped. But I was like, holy shit. It's I think it was one of those like 7-8 degree mornings, it's like I mean, it's not North Dakota cold, not northern Montana cold, but it's still pretty fucking cold. And your fingers just don't really work that well. But man, I was sure glad to have those 2 pairs of cotton gloves on. Otherwise, I'd have been missing a pinky finger.
Oh shit! I'll tell you what. When I was learning to dally, working on that old Spanish ranch, we'd go out doctoring yearlings. You'd stack them dallies thinking you had you was cutting a fat hog, and next thing you know, your fucking fingers are melted together. You got blisters on your palm and blisters on every finger, and son of a bitch, you still have to go out and rope with all that mess on your hand.
Oh yeah.
Good God. I know every man that's ever learned how to dally rope knows the feeling. You got nothing but sores all over your hand, and you still have to go out and rope now.
Yeah, well, and
it's fun right up until you got all them fucking sores on your hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you get those blisters, and you're better off just popping them right away because they're going to pop anyways, and just get the pain over with. Just you're better off just popping them, and it's going to suck. That's about all you can say is it's going to suck, but yeah, oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, you just let her go.
Yeah.
My boy got to roping last summer, and he learned that. He got his old fucking hands all burned up. And I was just like, hey, that's part of the game,
Yeah.
You're going to be a dally man. You better learn how to run them dallies, and better learn how to not clamp down on that rope.
Yeah. And
the best is when somebody's learning how to dally, and they lock up their dallies, and they're thinking, yeah, I got him.
Yep.
But they forgot to tighten their cinch down. And they tip their fucking saddle clear over on the side of the horse and kiss the dirt.
Yeah. And still get
dally, man.
Still get a whole bunch of rope burned through their hands too.
There was a little gal come to help me the other day, and she kind of had some ego going on, acting like she was going to be a puncher. And we got in the corral there, and we had a couple of calves that I needed to castrate. And I'm one of them. I'm kind of hardcore. If I can rope it, if I have a reason to rope it, by damn, I'm going to rope it. The hell with running it through a chute if I don't have to. And I think it's a pretty damn good excuse when you got to stretch out a calf to castrate it, So I told her, I said, this wife of mine doesn't know how to rope well enough to get these calves healed for me. So I said, would you heal them for me so I can get them castrated? And this little gal, she rides in, and she's riding one of my horses. Well, he's pretty mutton withered. He's just a hell of a good little cow pony, but he's just a little bit wolfy when it comes to the rope running across that horn. When it starts to zzz, zzz, zzz,
oh yeah,
boy, he'll kind of get looking around and get a little jumpy, So I got this calf necked, and she rides up there, and after 2 or 3 shots, she gets a heel caught. And that calf kind of runs sideways, and she stacked her dallies, and zzz, zzz, zzz. That old horse sold out and run off to the side. That saddle flopped on that horse's side bigger than shit. I mean, just right now. This little gal hit the ground in that shit. I mean, just right now. Blam! There she sat.
Slingshot, huh?
Humbled her ass in a hurry.
Oh, I can imagine.
I had to giggle just a little. I thought, yeah, you're pretty punchy right up until that happens.
Yeah, it's funny.
And that's what all of us need. That's what every single one of us needs, is to have a record too like that. So yeah, it happens to all of us.
Well,
after it's happened to you about 100 times, then finally you realize, hey, this is Cowboy and shit happens.
Yep.
Get up and let's get this fucking job done.
Exactly. It's just it's funny when you actually go to work cowboying and like there's shit to be done, there is no sympathy. Like somebody will check and make sure you're okay, but like we still got shit to do, so like don't just lay there in a pile and cry. Like at least move to the corner of the pen or something. We still got shit to do.
Yep. Yeah, my boy here it was just 2 days ago. No shit, I think it might have been yesterday. My memory's just shit when I'm drinking. Anyway, so Jesse, he's helping me sort these cows, and I'm trying to sort out some of these heavy cows out of the bunch. And of course, up here in Rexburg, Idaho, these old timers, they like to calve this time of year. They think this is the time of year that you're supposed to calve. So I just go along with it, okay, whatever. We're going to sort off these cows and keep them in for the night because, we're dairy farmers.
Yeah.
And we got this. I think there's like 3 or 4 head that look like they're ready to just calve. So we're going to sort them off. And my boy, he's helping me bring them in. And there's fucking ice everywhere. And we still have iron on the bottom of these horses. So I don't remember how it went, but one of these cows got by us. And as this cow got by us, I told my boy, I said, you better bring her back because I don't know if she's going to calve or not. I didn't see her. She went running by, So he whirls this gelding of his around, and he's smoking down the alleyway, and cow makes a left, and she runs out into the pasture, and it's just nothing but a big sheet of ice out there. And I'm watching him from about 300-400 yards away. This little horse, he hits that ice and just flops down. Jesse, he goes flying, That horse jumps up, and old Jesse, he kind of looks around and swings back onto that horse. And he goes and he brings the cow back in, and he gets her in. He comes back. Now, keep in mind, this kid's only about 15 years old. He's not very old, but by damn, he wants to cowboy a little. And he looks at me like, I'm done. I am so done. I ain't doing this anymore today. I am done. And he starts to climb off of this horse. And he gets to where he's just standing next to the horse, ready to uncinch his horse. And I'm like, get back on that horse. I said, we are not done.
We don't.
He fell with me over there on the ice, and he was, he was mad. I said, look, Jesse. Says, look at yourself. I said, you're not hurt. I know it could have been an ugly wreck, but I said, you're just fine. I says, look yourself over. I said, it's happened to all of us. Everybody has a wreck or a fall. I said, I can't even count how many times a horse has fallen with me. I said, you're just fine. Get on your horse and let's finish the job.
Yep. Well, and if he goes flying,
he gets back on. We finished sorting cattle.
Hell yeah. And honestly, if he goes flying, like that's the best way to be. It's because it's one of those when they fall and you don't have a chance to get kicked free and it just like slingshots you into the ground. That's when you fuck up an ankle, and that's like I've had that happen twice, one on each ankle, and they periodically just go out. They just don't work every now and then.
Yeah. I told him, I said, that's why we don't wear big old clodhopper boots and little itty bitty stirrups, because you don't want your foot to catch. And then when that horse jumps up, you get to drag across the pasture. I said, Jesse, I said, you don't realize it. I said, your dad has gotten dragged across the pasture by them fucking horses. I that was not a bad wreck.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next morning, he says to me, it really wasn't that bad. I just got to thinking about it. Really, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of fun. Oh.
Yeah,
I think a cowboy has been born here, but.
Well, that's good, though. That's good. It's
we'll give a little bit more time.
It's those little deals, though. I remember I've told this story plenty of times, but one of the first times I got put on a colt, and this was just at the end of the lunge line. I had we had a hackamore on him, but had the halter underneath, and my dad had him on a lunge line. Sucker reared up on me, and I pulled back on the reins, and my dad goes, "Well, that was pretty neat. Why don't you try that again? If he does it again, try it." Yeah, and then I pulled him right down on top of me. And then he picked me up and said, "Hey, don't do that again. That was dumb." But I mean, I think he probably could have done it a better way. Oh, see it well enough, but yeah, I don't even know if I'm sure there could have been a better way that he did that, but it did. I've never forgot that. You just don't. You don't pull back on the reins if they're rearing up. I learned that the hard way, but that's how some of those guys are. And like when you're cowboying, like. They might not be the best teachers, but they will figure out how to get the point across. There's always better ways to go about it, but it's kind of like the old Bronx Stomper method. Like it's not pretty, but it's effective. I mean, it works. It maybe not the best way, but it works, and that's how. Yeah. Like that's kind of what you get a lot with in the cowboy world is it just I mean this is what works. It's not the best way maybe sometimes, but it'll work in a pinch.
Yeah, I got to hear about it from the guy who owns this outfit. He was telling me about a kid who came along and he was gonna help get one of these colts because the guy's got a few head of colts, and the kid says, "Yeah, I've been around horses. I've worked with these colts quite a bit." And the kid, he had brought his own horse with him, and he needed to get a halter on one of these colts to get him going. And the kid decides, well, I'm going to run him in the alleyway, and I'm going to pin this horse in the alleyway and put a halter on him. And this Spencer, that's my boss, he says, after the kid had tried for like 20 minutes to get a halter on this cranky colt, he's like, "Kid, just leave him alone." Said, "To hell with it." And I thought to myself, if the kid could have at least got a halter on that horse, it would have been a win. Mm-hmm. I don't care if he would have had to rope that one. If he would have had to, put him in the chute, whatever he had to do, that kid needed to get that horse haltered to get him halter broke somehow. Yep. Yes, there's better ways. Mm-hmm. The kid didn't know a better way, but now I have horses that are coming 3 years old that aren't even fucking halter broke. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got to get him halter broke so he can settle. Like, shit. So I get to start colts. Yeah. And I like starting colts, don't get me wrong, but I'm too old to be worrying about breaking fucking cranky colts. I want I want stuff broke to lead when it's a yearling, you know? I want them broke to ride when they're 2. I don't care if they got any miles on them. I just want somebody to throw a saddle on them and get them gentle and let them know that humans aren't going to eat their lunch at 2.
Yeah.
If they don't ever get rode much until they're 5, I don't care. But son of a bitch, not even broke to lead at 3 years old.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's a bad way to start.
Well, and you know, a guy that doesn't know any
kid bite his head.
Right. Yeah, because a guy that doesn't know any better and doesn't have a good teacher, how the hell's he going to get any better if he doesn't go out and try it? Like, he has to get it done. That was one thing my mom and my dad both, but particularly my mom, she's like, I don't care, just go. This is what your job is. Go do it. Go figure it out. And there's something to that. Like, I remember I got really, I was just upset. I didn't want to go move cattle. And you know, I was adopted growing up, but I lived with my biological parents till I was 10. And so there was 3 or 4 years there where I was just in foster care. But I was living with my folks who adopted me at the time, but like, I wasn't adopted at the time. So, you know, my whole life is just kind of in limbo, you know. And I didn't want to be riding a damn horse out in the middle of canyons. I didn't want to be at this place where I was at. And next thing I know, like, I was, my ass hurt. You know, I'm sure I had blisters on the inside of my thighs, and I was just. But we had to move some cattle down off a government lease, and I had stepped down, and I was riding this old horse we called Fat Man. He was just like the stereotypical asshole gelding, like sway back, probably weighed 1,300 pounds, was maybe 15 hands, you know, but just a big fat prick of a horse. Anybody could ride him, but like, you know, he would step on your foot and then kind of look at you and then like shift his weight onto your foot. You know, just an asshole of a horse. And I was trying to lead this horse down like a pretty sheer sandstone cliff. And I remember my dad was down at the bottom of that cliff, and he's like, "Get back on that goddamn horse and let him let him lead you down the trail. Otherwise, you're gonna fall and break your damn leg." And so I was like, you know, we're yelling at each other, and I step up on the horse, and sure enough, he finds his way to that little trail going down the cliff. But but he's like, use your head a little bit. I know you don't want to be out here, but this is what we're doing. And I don't know. It just is one of those things. Like, you got to let them just that. You know, when you have to that point where like you have to do it, like there's no choice. You either like where, you know, the ranch headquarters is at the bottom of that canyon, and you're at the top. The path you're taking is not going to be good, so figure it the fuck out. You know, and that was a good lesson, I thought, anyways. You know, it's just like, just figure it out. But I don't know. I don't think there's that.
It takes a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. But, you know, I think there's too many.
How life goes, Matt. You know, Lord knows, and I'm damn sure not a mechanic. Anybody that knows Scott Hall will tell you he ain't a fucking mechanic. But right now, I got to replace a radiator and a fan and the fan shroud in a 2012 Dodge Ram pickup. I don't know what I'm doing. But gosh damn it, I'm going to figure it out. Because if I don't, I got to pay somebody a whole pile of money to do it for me.
Yep. Yep.
I better figure that shit out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, or figure out another way to make a whole bunch of money real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I was working for Scott Satterthwaite on that Spanish ranch, and there was a kid come along who didn't know how to shoe horses. And he asked somebody else if they'd shoe a horse for him, and he says, yeah, I'll shoot him for you for $70. Well, the guy made about $700 a month. So he decided real fast, I better figure out how to shoe these son of a bitches because I can't afford 70 times 7.
Yeah, no shit.
That's how many horses you had in your string, at least.
Yeah.
So 70 times 7, his paycheck was going to go real fast. So he figured out how to shoe horses, even if it was wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some things that like you don't ever figure out they're wrong if you don't go out there. There's one thing I don't remember which particular time you were on, but you said you gotta ruin a couple good horses before you ever really make a good one. And I think that's right. You know, it's kind of,
man,
you got to cut your losses on some of them and just realize like, hey, I didn't do very good on that one, you know, but you're not ever gonna make a good one if you haven't figured out where the hell you went wrong.
You know, that was Dan Myers in a nutshell. You know, when I worked for him over there in St. Xavier, I had a spade bit that I'd bought from Ernie Marsh. And it was one of Ernie's little cast bits, you know. It was a good bit. It wasn't going to ruin a horse. It was the right bit to have on those horses to teach them how to be in a spade, you know. And I had one horse of my own that I'd spent some time getting him so he was handling in the Bozell. And he was handling pretty damn good. And I told Dan, I said, man, I think if there was one that I could get going in a bridle, this would be the one, you know. And he's like, well, why not? What are you waiting for? Get on it. And so I put that spade bit in his face, and I'll tell you what now, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I mean, none. But I got that old son of a bitch going in a bridle, and he turned out to be one hellacious nice horse.
Hell yeah.
And it was in spite of me. I ended up trading that horse off to a guy who just thought that was the neatest thing he'd ever seen, you know. And man, you talk about a cool little cow horse. He was a half thoroughbred horse.
Okay.
So pretty leggy, you know.
Yeah.
Punchy little animal.
Kind of high desert special, right?
Once I got him in the bridle, he was, oh yeah. Yeah, but man, you talk about a cool little horse.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that was my first bridle horse.
That's awesome. You got about another half hour or so in you?
Well, I mean, I do, but that's up to you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a leak. We're gonna
bullshit that long.
Oh yeah, we're good there. I told my wife you were coming on, so she doesn't expect me in early. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a leak.
You can't shut up.
Exactly. I've changed up this show a little bit here. So with the Facebook censorship stuff, I've been doing a paid deal. So from here on out, if anybody who pays for the show, they get this part, and anybody who doesn't, well, move your ass. We're burning daylight.
But it's got a grocery store, and the courthouse was built in 29. And on cold days like this one, it smells like wood smoke, and the folks are burning cedar and pine. The saloon on the corner is a landmark of the town, and there's lots of old-time pictures over the door of woolly chaperon riders and men in uniform who never returned from the war. Down at the feed store, he's sleeping on the burlap with a copy of Western Horseman on his chest. His clothes are kinda ragged, but you know he don't care. This time of day there's whiskey on his breath. He's a son of the sagebrush that his daddy plowed under with his teams. Ain't it funny how the ambition of one man will cover up another man's dream? Rusty old rails run by the stockyards, they tell a silent story about change, of a time long before the highways and wire divided up that desolate old range. Miles of dry land wheat fields are growing tall and rank, 'cause the government pays them not to plow. Where he rode the cultivator behind his father's horses, and he daydreamed about punching cows. Saved up his money and he bought that old saddle off a man who rode from Texas in '81. He rode that old plow horse mile after mile, and he roped the old milk cow just for fun. He's a son of the sagebrush that his daddy plowed under with his teeth. Ain't it funny how the ambition of one man will cover up another man's dream? Dusty farm ground when he turned 17, and he took a job riding on the plains. And out there in the sagebrush, a kid found his calling, and he cut the plow lines into bridle reins. There's 1,000 years of badger holes a hiding in the sage, and over the years, you know, they took their toll. He felt his horse stumble, it happened so fast. The lights went out as they began to roll. They said he'd probably walk again, but he would never ride. And it took a year before he found his feet. Now he visits with the cowboys when they come into town, and he's selling oats, barley, and wheat. He's a son